That should be done, Gata Mataji.
Garbhagita.
Perfect. Yes, welcome everybody. So we have Kusum Mataji doing Sanskrit and Saroj Mataji doing English. So I saw Kusum Mataji's name earlier. Is Saroj Mataji here?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, yes, I'm here.
Hare Krishna. Okay, perfect. Let me just share the screen so we can start. Great. So you have the screen now. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 12, Devotional Service. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satat Yokta Ye Bhaktastvam Parupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vitamaha.
Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Maya Vesha Manoya Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Paryopeta Te Me Yukta Tamanam Mataha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect.
Text 3 and 4. Ye tvav aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam parupasate sarvartragam achintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam sanayan yam indriya gramam sarvarta samabuddhayaha te prapnuvanti mam eva sarvabhuta hite rataha.
But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me.
Text 5. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham deha vadbhir avapyate.
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Text 6 and 7. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sannyasa matparaha ananyaneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha maya veshita chetasam.
But those who worship me, giving up all their activities onto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Partha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
Text 8. Maya eva mana adatsva mai buddhim nivasyasyasi maya eva atan urdham na samshaya.
Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, You will live in me always, without a doubt.
Text 9. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya.
My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Text 10. Abhyasepya samarthosi mad karma paramo bhava mad artham api karmani kurvan siddham avapsyasi.
If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to that perfect stage.
Text 11. Athaitadpya saptosi kartum mad yogam ashrita sarva karma phalatyagam tatha kuru yatatmavan.
If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated.
Text 12. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnana dhyanam vishashyati dhyanat karma phala tyagas chantir anantaram.
If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind.
Text 13 and 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitriya karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma drida nishchaya mai arpita manobuddhir yo mad bhakta so me priyaha.
One who is not envious, but a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me.
Text 15. Yasman modvijete loko lokan nodvijete chaya harshamarsha bhagyodvegir mukto yasacha me priyaha.
He for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety is very dear to me.
Text 16. Anipeksha suchir daksha udasino gata vyataha sarvarambha parityagi yo mad bhaktaha sa me priyaha.
My devotee, who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me.
Text 17. Yo na harshati na dvashti na sochati na kanakshati sab shubha shubha parityagi bhakti mam yasa me priyaha.
One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me.
Text 18 and 19. Samasatru sa mitre cha tatha manapapmana yoho sitoshna sukha dukkheshu samasanga vivarjitaha tulyanendasturirmoni santushto yena kenachit aniketa sthiramatir bhaktiman me priya naraha.
One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me.
Text 20. Ye tu dharman ratam edam yathoktam parupasate shraddha dana mat parma bhakta tiva me priyaha.
Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, both of you. Hare Krishna, Kusum Mataji, very nicely recited. All the pronunciation was so nice. Thank you so much. And
Thank
Saroj
you.
Mataji, English was impeccable. Thank you very much, both of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Let me now just share. I can just see if I can do this without unsharing. Okay, if I just close that. Okay, so we're continuing reading from the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. Chapter summary so far as usual. So the first section, text 1 to 7, devotional service is superior to impersonalism. That is firmly established by Krishna. And then this particular section we are on, 8 to 12, is giving us the progressive options of devotion. Krishna is realizing that not everybody is in the same place, so you can pick up devotional service from wherever you are and start making progress. So this particular section is very, very encouraging for all of us. So today's verse, 12:10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 10. Abhyasepya samarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madartham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. Translation, Bhashya Prabhupada. If you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So now we're moving on in terms of options. So we will start discussing this verse and purport in a minute. But as it happens, just last week, or maybe a couple of days, 50 days ago, on this particular verse, there was a few questions that I got about pronunciation. And it's just Krishna's arrangement that this verse came to in my time on a Thursday. So I will try my best to try and explain some of the questions try and answer to my best ability some of the questions that were raised. So let's just go to the questions. So first of all, from Puja Mataji, I got this message saying chapter 12, text 10, please guide me. Second line in Sanskrit, first word, I would read it as Madarthamapi. In English, it reads Madartham api. Please tell me how to pronounce correctly. So the English pronunciation, I replied to her that the English pronunciation is correct, madartham api. Now we need to see why. So this is the line. So when you look at Sanskrit, you see the ma there. So madartham. So you say the rather the da. So when you say madartham, so what Puja Mata is saying is, because when you read it just that word in Sanskrit, you could actually read it as madarthmapi. It's ma here, right? So there's two things here happening. So here, there's a D. This particular da here is a long da. I'll explain to you a little bit about long and short. It's a long da, which means there is a sound after which. Instead of saying mud, we say mada. So when you say mada, then that comes to the artham. So that's why it becomes madartham. Yeah? Because it is a proper long, or some say open A, mada. The closed A will be mud, closed, right? Similarly, we have two types of ma's. We have this ma, which is an ordinary ma, which is a long or open ma, which is ma. So and the closed would be ma, would be a closed m. So this one is mapi. So the ma, the of the ma, so there's an you can imagine there's an afterwards because you're making a sound afterwards. We're saying ma. Instead of saying ma, we're saying ma. So that becomes api. I hope that makes sense. So here's the example of a short D, short da, or not D, da, right? So if you see in this line, kurvanti siddhi. So here, for example, we are saying madartham. Here we are saying siddhi. We are joining the. Let me put a pointer here. So we are joining here. We're joining this da with the da, because this is a short da. Short da, because there's a little line. You can see a little line here, right? A little diagonal line that goes under the, which is not here. So without the little line underneath, it remains a long or open da. That means there's a little bit of an sound afterwards, which joins with the next word. So it becomes artham. So here, for example, if this mark was here in this da, then Puja Mataji's first pronunciation would be correct. Madarthmapi. Madarthmapi, without a sound in between. Yeah, makes sense? And then also, in this case, we have another example of ma here, which is a long ma, which goes siddhim avapsyasi, because it's a long ma. Otherwise, you could read this also siddhim vapasi, but it's not siddhim va, it's siddhim ava. And this is an example of a short ma. So this ma, again, you can see this little line there. So it's a short ma. So here, because it's a short ma, it becomes thiram, rather than srirama. See, artham here, madartham, here is thiram. See, closed M. So when there's a little line there, that's a short M that you have to stop. It's a hard stop, but stiram rather than stirama. So these are the certain Sanskrit rules. I hope that makes sense to you, Puja Mataji. Can you ask me any questions at this point, if you are still not doubtful?
Prabhuji, can you speak it again, please, the first line?
First line, okay. So your pronunciation of madarthamapi, so
yes.
madarthamapi, without a little a sound in between the th and the a, that would apply if there was no, if there was a little line here, like in the stiram. Down here in stiram, you got a little line there. So when there's a little line there, it becomes a short ma or a closed ma.
Yeah.
Because there's no line there, it's a regular long ma or open ma, where you sound the little sound after the ma. So it's ma, madartham mapi, Madartham api.
Yes.
So that sound actually comes from the long ma.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Oh, so in your case, the long da has got mother thumb, rather than mad
Mother thumb.
mother thumb. And
Yeah.
api ma. So your question is not about d. Your question is also about ma, isn't it? Where you
Yes.
yeah. So with ma, because it's a longer ma, rather than mother thumb is mother thumb api.
Mother thumb api.
Yeah. Because that a comes from the d here, right? And from here, a comes from the a comes from api comes from the long ma.
Mother thumb api.
Yeah.
Mother thumb api. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you only time you say ma without making the sound afterwards, if there is a line underneath like this, miss ma here, like count here.
Stira.
Prabhu, would they have a different meaning then?
It would often probably have the same meaning, Shekhar Prabhu, but the pronunciation of your verse will not be correct. The meter would go wrong. It probably would have the same meaning, or maybe slightly different meaning also. But usually it's quite, the word is very close, so it would probably have the same meaning, but not the correct pronunciation of the meaning.
Prabhuji, it will have different meaning because mud is a different, it's a different word. Mud is
Yes,
a
yes.
separate word. Artham is a separate word, and api is a separate word. So it's all it's done sandhi viched. It's all and it's combined together. So it's the combination. Of, so it will have, every word has a different. I mean, every the mud is a different word. Artham is a different word, and api is a different word. It's combined together to form
So,
mother.
Yes, Rupa Mataji, thank you for clarifying that. It's like this. Yes, in some cases, like in this case, mud and mother, two different things. Here, but sthirama, I'm not sure if there's another word called sthirama. So like that. So you're not necessarily different, but most probably different. But at the same time, the main reason why it's done this way is to make the meter and make the pronunciation sound right. It has to rhyme, right? Everything is done. Sandhis are done to rhyme. So before we move on, any other questions on this? From now, when people who actually can read the Sanskrit, even if you can read Hindi, of course, you can make out most of those words or letters. You just keep an eye on this little mark underneath, and then you will see. You gradually start to understand what that means.
Mukunda, I have a question.
Yes. Yes, Ajay Mukund Prabhu.
How do you pronounce the abhyase? Is it pyasamorthosi or apyasamorthosi?
So, okay, that question will be answered in the next slide.
Okay.
Hold on your horses.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so.
But so Prabhuji, does it distort the meaning if you learn it in English then?
So English, generally speaking, English, the way is because the transliteration has been done verbatically. So
Right.
that is a better sound. That's why people who are not familiar with the Sanskrit, the Devanagari, for them, English is better because then you can get the right pronunciation. English is phonetically done. So it's like in this case, just like Puja Mataji was getting confused, and if she was reading in Devanagari, then she was going to say Madat Mapi. But when you look at English is correct, Madat Mapi. Yeah. So I'll share the slides with you. Let it sink in, have a look at it again, and then we can discuss questions later on, even in future classes again. It's something quite interesting in terms of getting our pronunciation right. But at the same time, one should not get too hung up on these things. Main thing is to understand the meanings of the verses and the purports. But this is just because questions were asked, I'm clarifying it.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for clarifying this. I had the same, So now I understood that when there is a whole letter, ma, ra, ya,
then the
Yeah.
next letter starts with A.
Exactly, because that exactly the part.
And when there is a short, it doesn't. So
It doesn't. Exactly. Yeah, you
thank
got
you
it.
so
Yes.
much, Prabhu, for explaining that.
Thank you, Krishnamani Mataji, for summarizing it better than I was summarizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Puja Mataji. Thank you for raising it, so we all got to learn about it. Now, getting back to what Ajay Mukund Prabhu was asking. So here, I'll just, there's a little graphic about the small mark. So this is a message that Divya Gauranga Mataji sent me about the same verse. And she sent me this graphic. She actually nicely circled these things. And then she's saying, I had a query by a devotee again for the same verse, because we've spoken about it before, that's why she's saying again. Could you explain why the is in Sanskrit circled, the circle bit here, the, right? Because we're not pronouncing it. And why is there an apostrophe mark here before the P and C, right? So these are the questions. Those two questions are actually fully connected, and I'll explain why. The Divya Gauranga Mataji, what you're referring to here as the, or the rather, the, it is not the. When you look at that closely, it is it's not a da would be a slightly proper shape. This is like an odd shape, right? It's not a da. What it is actually a kind of a punctuation mark rather than a letter. And that punctuation mark in English translates as the apostrophe. So that's why you see the apostrophe before the P here and apostrophe before the C here. Same way, here you can see before the pa, he's got that da. And here, before, where is the other da?
Prabhuji,
Before
sorry,
C, yeah, that
sorry
one.
to interrupt. Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. That's a very short For api, we do that. When we write a full it's a very short pronunciation. That's the D you're saying. The
Yeah.
shape like an S. That's a very, very short So api, when we combine api with another word, so we put that to do the sound. Very short.
So Rupa Mataji, thank you. But my understanding is that not even a short pronunciation. We actually have to miss that So here, abhyasyepya, we're not even sounding the there. Not
Yeah,
even
the sound is, yeah, exactly. The sound is not there, but actually it is api, but the is just, yeah, you have to just mix it up. You have to blend it.
The eyes drop.
Actually, it is not api, it is abhyasepya, because then pya, py and a is connected. It is pya. It is the long one, how Prabhuji said. Abhyasepya samarthosi.
Yes.
So the apostrophe is the Prabhuji is saying is used as what looks like da in Sanskrit,
Exactly.
and py is always pya. It is not p, because p is pi.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my understanding.
No, I'm saying it's not the pronunciation. I'm saying about the word. The word api is written like that, but we are pronouncing it here like that because we are combining the word, blending the words together.
And that's why you see also in the English.
Yeah, in the English, it says api, Prabhu.
English, it's, wait, one second. Let me just.
It's the third line, that is api. We are talking about first line, Mataji. Abhyasepya samarthosi.
In word to word, it's api even if.
Yeah, word to word is
Madkarma paramo bhava, madartham api karmani. Yeah, so there it is P, madartham P. Api. Prabhuji said it's a long M, madartham P karmani.
Divya Gaurangi, your explanation for the third line is correct, but her question is about the first line, where in the translation she says the word is api, which is correct. The word is api, but when you are putting it in the Sanskrit word, in the Sanskrit meter, we are dropping that sound. That's the whole point, and this is why.
Yeah.
This is why also in transliteration, when you look at English transliteration, it will show an apostrophe instead of an A there. Right? So now let me just move on a bit, and maybe it can make one
So
second.
also the C is it's not a C. It's to C. Yeah.
Exactly.
Asar moti. Asamartho C.
Actual word is asi, but these are rules. It's not. These are. It's not that we are dropping these letters just willy nilly. These are proper rules. That if there is, if there is an sound after a means e. The sound a. So abhyase, right? So after a sound a or a sound o, which is samartho. If after that there is an sound, you drop it. That is a rule. Okay, I'll explain.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I'll explain to you in a minute, right? So yes, the post office shows that there is a letter or some letters have been dropped. It's called in English. It's called contraction, right? So I'll explain to you more in a minute. So here, there. Yeah. So see, unfortunately, when I copy paste the Devanagari onto the page here, that looks like a proper S or a D. But you know what I'm saying, that actually when you look at the actual print, it's a different, it's not S. It's actually a slightly different shape, right? So you can see these two places where it's been dropped. So we don't pronounce that. And that is called avagraha. That's pronunciation called avagraha. That's like a pronunciation mark. It's a so you use it when you see that, you know it's an avagraha, and you don't pronounce that part. Okay. It's actually literally the avagraha means apostrophe, right? And now we will see in English how there's similar examples in English where you drop some letters in English and you replace it by apostrophe. So when you say have not, we say haven't, don't we? So that apostrophe shows you there's some letter or letters missing. In this case, the O is missing, right? So we have the same rule in English as well. You can see, right? Haven't. So this avagraha rule is in English as well. The other example is cannot. We say can't. So here, two letters are missing. But that little apostrophe shows us that there's letters missing here, right? And then would not, would have. Would have is would have. So very similar. So whenever there's an apostrophe, you don't pronounce it and you drop it. Now I will explain, next slide will actually explain how this is scientific and not just somebody's made up, right? So it explains here the avagraha, and that again, that symbol is not S, it's a different shape, is used in Sanskrit grammar and is actually not a letter. It is used between words to give extra time for the pronunciation of a specific vowel and eliminating the vowel sound that comes after it. So in IAST, it is symbolized with an appropriate apostrophe. So what is IAST? The International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration is a transliteration scheme that allows the lossless romanization of Indic scripts as employed by Sanskrit and related Indic languages. It is based on a scheme that emerged during the 19th century from suggestions by Charles Trevelyan, William Jones, Monier Williams, and other scholars, and formalized by the Transliteration Committee of Geneva Oriental Congress in September 1894. IAST makes it possible for the reader to read the Indic text unambiguously, exactly as if it were in the original Indic text script. It is this faithfulness to the original scripts that accounts for its continuing popularity among scholars. So you see, it's obviously scientific, and it was sorted out long time ago. It's not something new. So according to the rules of Sandhi, which govern the harmonious sounding of adjacent words in Sanskrit, when a word ending either in the vowel A or O are followed by the word beginning with a short vowel, then is elided or omitted and replaced with a silent avagraha. Thus, A plus written is written like that, with A apostrophe, pronounced A. And the O plus A is written O apostrophe, pronounced O. So very scientific. If I like I say, I'll share this, read it. It will make sense once you get it in. But it will really help us to pronounce words properly, and explains to us why these symbols and apostrophes are coming through. Any questions, David Gorangi, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much. You have explained beautifully and you put in all this effort and all the slides, and it's made it so easy for us to understand. So when I explain in my class, I don't have the slide and all made up so nicely. So thank you so much, Prabhuji.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. It's just something that I learned myself when I was reading Prabhupada's books early on, about 10 years ago. And I was getting, that's just like all of you, or some of you rather, I was getting confused. And then I had to research, why are these funny signs coming up? My wife could actually read Hindi. So I asked her, why is this little symbol there? What does she do? And she just said, you don't pronounce it. And I couldn't leave it like that. I had to understand why you don't pronounce it. But then here you can see it's very scientific.
Yes, very grateful to you, Prabhuji, very grateful. Thank you for taking out the time.
No problem. You're absolutely welcome. My service to Srila Prabhupada. Ajay Mukund Prabhu, does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Prabhu, this is what we do it in Gujarati. The way you have explained.
Yeah.
That's how we read in Gujarati as well.
Okay.
And in the thing that looks like a "the" is not a "the," but it's like an apostrophe.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you look into "duk," we used to do and then colon and then a "k." That's how we used to do "duk." But this is how the way you have explained is perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I read Gujarati in school, but I don't remember that avagraha.
Yeah, I learned it about 50, 60 years ago, but it's still stuck in my mind.
Wow, you're showing your age now, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Haribo.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we can move on now. Sorry I took so long, but I thought it was important to try and understand
share those slides with us as well, yeah?
Yes, I'll share all the slides with you for sure. So now we've got the purport here. Let me see. I can see here. Jayashree Mystery. I can see Jayashree Mystery here.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
You can read this, please.
Yep, I read the purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand, so the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple or propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activity, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state. And sorry, Prabhu, I can't see the next line.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So it's just the way the slide is. So I can just read this.
Thank you.
This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you for reading. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnanati Nirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashyate Deshatharini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So a bit late, but let's try and plow through the purport. So Prabhupada starts off the purport saying, one who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of bhakti under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfection stage by working for the Supreme Lord. So these are now options, right? In this verse, we come to the third option. So can anybody remember what was the first option?
Engage your mind and intelligence in
Very
the Krishna service. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. So fix your mind upon me, he says, and engage all your intelligence in me. And what was the second option?
Give up the fruits of your action. Giving up the fruits of your action.
Is it work for me?
Follow the regulative principles.
Yes. It's written, actually, it's written on this slide. Practice regulative principles of bhakti yoga one should under the guidance of an expert spiritual master. Yes, I think something's missing. The sentence is not complete, but anyway, you get the gist. So yes, these are the two options that we've read so far, and now we are looking at the third option in this particular verse. So the third option is work for the Supreme Lord. That is the option. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. This is what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. So we did this, I think it was Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu who did this 1155. So we'll skip the Sanskrit because of time. We'll just read the English. Say, my dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So this particular verse, 1155, Prabhupada says in the purport that this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita, how to make one's human life successful. The Bhagavad Gita is supposed to show us how to understand who we are, how to understand who the Supreme Lord is, what is our relationship with him, and it teaches us how to go back to Godhead. This verse is explaining in a nutshell how we can do all that, and we can make progress and make our human life a success. Then Prabhupada continues. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try and help such work. So whether we can work directly for Krishna or we can actually help. So based on, so first of all, let's look at this based on 1155. First thing, be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. So even that, just when where people are actually favorable, that just helps, doesn't it, to spread. So if people are favorably listening to us, then the mission will spread. So in every endeavor, Prabhupada is saying that it needs land, capital, organization, labor, etc., etc. So even just like a business would need that, a temple also need that. So people who are not able to directly work, they can help the temple in these different areas. If they have money, they can actually build a temple or help help in the publication of literature and help in the distribution of Vedic literature. So this distribution of book is of course very current right now. We try to distribute the Bhagavad Gita in Live to Give campaign. So here it says these are certain things we can do to help the mission, and this constitutes as working for the Lord. So if you cannot sacrifice the results of the activities, at least sacrifice some percentage of his results, Prabhupada is saying. So very nice example, Rupa Goswami, who was a prime minister in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah. But when he decided to leave his job and join Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji's movement, he, of course, being a prime minister, he was very, very well paid. So he divided his wealth in a certain percentage. Anybody know? Anybody can tell me what did he do with his wealth?
Hare Krishna, Mukunda Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. He gave 50% to the service of the Lord, and
Perfect.
then he gave 25% to the family,
Yes.
and 25% for the emergency.
Very good, Palika. Perfect, Palika Mataji. Excellent. Yeah. So this is an example that Rupa Goswami has left for us. So Krishna doesn't say, give me everything, or the temple doesn't say, give us everything. But generally, if one is completely committed to the mission, then this is generally what people would do. Of course, leave some for your family, leave for some more for your emergencies. But 50% of our wealth we should give. This is, of course, a very high standard, actually. But Prabhupada is saying here, at least sacrifice some percentage of our results to Krishna. And that constitutes as working for the Lord, because we're employing our Lakshmi for the service of the Lord. Right? So kind of work that we're supposed to do is also explained in the 3.9. Yagyathat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana tadartham karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. Work done as sacrifice of Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in this way, you will always remain free from bondage. So see, we need to detach ourselves from the material world one way or the other. And apart from different processes for detachment, this is one of them. So let us work for purpose, for his benefit. So then in 927, also the very nice was talking about how we can do everything for Krishna. Anybody remember this verse? Quite famous verse.
Man mana bhava, mad bhakto, is that the one?
No, that's 934. This is 27. Yat karoshi
Yat
yat
prosi yadasya
dadashi yat yat tapasyasi konte tad kurushva madarpanam. So Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer to give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So you see, whatever you do, so we can think about things we do. We can think about right from the time you wake up, you cleanse yourself. We have to have the consciousness that I'm cleaning myself, not for myself, but I'm cleaning myself so I can get ready to do my seva for Krishna. You get up and you cook some breakfast. Again, your consciousness is, I'm cooking this breakfast for Krishna. Of course, you're going to have it afterwards, but it's going to be for Krishna first. So like this, every activity, I'm going to work. You can jump into the car and go to your work. I'm going to work so that I can maintain my family to remain in Krishna's service. So like this, any activity we do, we can somehow keep Krishna in the center. And this is the trick. And this way, we can remain Krishna conscious all day. And then the next verse, we just missed the Sanskrit for time. In this way, Krishna says, you will be free from the bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. with your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Such a powerful statement. So you can see here, auspicious and is inauspicious both. So we don't want either kind of work. We don't want to be attached to any of them. Even auspicious work that we do, if you're attached to it, we do it for ourselves. We do some auspicious work because we want to have the result of it. Then we have to come back to this material world to enjoy the result. So we even the auspicious work that we do, we actually surrender it to Krishna. This way we don't get the karma, because we don't know even about the good karma. Good karma, bad karma is all material. Good karma, bad karma will take you to the lower life or a higher life. But that's not what the devotee is interested in. A devotee wants to leave this janjat, leave this material world and go back to the spiritual world. So for the devotee, we just do everything for Krishna. It becomes akarma. It's not karma, not vikarma. It's akarma, which means we're not getting any results, negative or positive. And this way, we can free ourselves at the end of our life. So doing everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. Then gradually, this way, love for God will manifest in our heart, slowly, slowly, and then we will gain success in actually thinking about Krishna all the time. Once you love Krishna, then you will think of him always. As Prabhupada always gives the example of a young man and a young boy, young girl, teenagers, when they meet first time and they start to go out together, they're constantly thinking about each other. So similarly, if there is love in our heart for Krishna, we will be thinking about him all the time. Then in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's two nice verses about, again, talking about detachment and how to live in this life, how to work. So the first verse, Anashaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagyam Uchyate, says, when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. So that's what we're speaking just like. Do everything for Krishna. And this way you are released and you remain above attachment, possessiveness. And then next verse, 256. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu kathyate. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So this refers to the Mayavad type of sannyas, or that kind of vairagya, where they say, I want to reject everything. They reject everything. We don't reject everything. We use yukta vairagya. In the previous verse, it's a yuktam vairagyam. So yukta vairagya means utilize whatever you have for Krishna. Doesn't matter, even the most latest gadget you have, utilize for Krishna, yukta vairagyam. You don't say no, because if you reject it, then we can't preach properly. You can't progress. So we use everything for Krishna. We don't reject anything. It's just the consciousness that we use it with. But the other sannyasis, other people who are trying to detach themselves, is very difficult. They try and just detach everything, they reject everything without realizing what can be used for Krishna. And that's, as the translation says, it's not a complete renunciation. They will always struggle. I think that's basically it. Reminder again about our wonderful Live to Give campaign. Any questions? It's 8:40 already. Sorry, I took a little bit long today. Any questions? Any corrections?
Hare Krishna, Mukunda, Hare Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
I just thought, as you were mentioning about the Goswamis, they left 50% for Krishna and 25% for the family and 25% for emergency. For our case, I mean, we are not so elevated. So just wondering, when before we die here in this country, everybody makes a will. So if the family is not Krishna conscious, and if we make the will and that add that whatever left over, if they're not using for Krishna service, then I will have to come back again.
Okay, that's good. That's a very good point. Yes, that's a very good point.
So that means I have to make sure in my will, please use it for Krishna service.
Yes, excellent point actually. Yes. Initially, you look after the family, of course, but then whatever is extra, give it to Krishna. That's the point. Prabhupada also mentioned in that verse, in that translation, he was saying at least some percentage you should give. And you know, what we give, this one important thing to remember, devotees, here is when we give, Krishna, we think, okay, sometimes I say, I've given £100, right? And we think, wow, it's a big amount. Krishna will be very pleased. But the Acharyas explained that Krishna sees not only what you give, Krishna also knows what you have. If I've got £1 million and I'm giving 100, Krishna knows I'm being stingy. On the other end, there's another person who's on basic wage. He's hardly able to save anything. If he gives 100, Krishna will really appreciate him. Right? So when we give, we have to also keep that in mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Puja Mataji.
I did read somewhere that we should give 10% of our income for religious purposes. This was before we come about giving at least, keep something for yourself, but at least minimum give 10% of your income.
So yes, I know many sanstha's rather, they have this kind of rules. In ISKCON, we don't have, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we don't have a particular percentage set, but we just encourage to be generous and like just literally, once you are sold to this movement, once you know that your complete life depends on the progress of Krishna consciousness, and when you appreciate how much you personally, when we appreciate how much we personally have gained from Krishna consciousness, we'll be willing to give more so that more people can gain the wonderful gift of Krishna consciousness. So no fixed percentage, but as much as you can afford.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Puja Mataji. Hare Krishna. So yeah, if there is nothing else, then we can call it a day. Thank you all. Thank you all so very much. Please do look after yourselves. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Beautiful class. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Nice to hear your voice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Suprana Mataji. Thank you for attending the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mukunda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Ajay Mukund Prabhu. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for your questions as well. And Divya Gauranga Mataji, thank you for raising the pronunciation thing, so we were able to hopefully try and explain.
Very grateful to you, Prabhuji. We've learned so much and you've explained so nicely on the slides. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This KHHHRRHH, I always wonder who that is. Prabhuji, can you give me your name?
Hitesh.
Hitesh Prabhu. Okay. Hitesh Prabhu. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. When I see that so many letters, I always wonder who that is. Hitesh Prabhu, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Okay, devotees, take care. Hare Krishna. We'll end the call now.